Thank you. Okay. And Irene, if you want
Ok,
to start us off.
perfetto. Buongiorno ragazzi, ciao, benvenuti, buon pomeriggio. Just to go on what Yang Ling was saying, maybe many of you don't understand, but this is our welcoming. I'm very happy to be here again. We had a really successful coffee hour at the Globe during the fall semester, and we foresee this being even better than last time. So I just want to start by thanking Yang Ling for hosting us and Chef Jesse for the work in the kitchen. And I hope that the next time we will be all together, we will be in the physical globe and we can chat in person. I also want to give a shout out to the Italian graduate students that have organized this, and you will have a chance to meet them in the rooms afterwards. So please stay on and make sure you talk with each one of us. So I'll just briefly introduce myself. My name is Irene Zanini-Cordi. I'm the Italian program coordinator, and I'm just going to give you a general introduction on what we do in the Italian program. We are part of the Modern Languages and Linguistics department. And I hope that all of you know that if you're interested in Italian culture, you can take Italian language with us and you can take Italian cultural classes, even if you don't take the language, because we have fantastic courses in translation. Italian culture, Italian food, Italian cinema. So please talk to us, ask us questions after this session. La Societa Italiana is the student group that is organizing this event, and it's a graduate student organization. Any FSU student, any of you can be part of it. You just need to share passion for something Italian or everything Italian. We are focused on promoting cultural events that have to do with Italy. So very important, if you're taking Italian language classes, we have a bi-weekly tavola, so a conversation table that is hosted by the graduate students, and faculty at times participates, and also Italians that are on campus at large. So it's a big Italian community, and it's great to meet people, to network, and also to practice your Italian at different levels. We also organize lunches, coffee hours like this. We've done the Italian lunch at the Globe a couple of times, super fun and successful. Readings, and host also talks on Italian literature and culture. So another very important feature of this group is the promotion of cultural exchange between Italy and the US and Italian-American culture. So whenever possible, we try to interact with the Italian-American community in Tallahassee and the Italian community at large in the States through other universities. So for this spring, we have lots of events, and as Yang Li has already mentioned, we're almost at the end. So many of you probably have already participated in some of these meetings and events, but there is still time to become part of this group. The first and very interesting program, let's call it a program that we have, is the Decameron Project. And the Decameron Project is a storytelling event, bi-weekly, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Students, any of you can offer to tell a story. We'll have a theme that we will basically discuss or analyze, and everybody is going to chip in. So it's been really interesting. We started it in the fall, and talking with people, telling stories, sharing experiences, especially during the pandemic moment, has been cathartic and also very much fun for the students and faculty involved in this activity. Coming up very important, you see March 25th deadline. The Italian club is running a Dante-inspired art contest to commemorate Dante for Dante D. Okay, so if you have a poem, an artwork, or something that is related to Dante or Italian culture referring to Dante, please follow up on this. It's a competition and it could be very interesting and fun. And also, once again, I want to suggest that you do your best to attend the conversation table. I know, and we all know, that you are overwhelmed, especially if you are on Zoom all day. But it's very important to have a social moment where trying to speak the language and conversing and having human contact that doesn't immediately translate into a grade. Okay, and I think that's probably the most fun part, because you can check how you are progressing. So we have social media account sites. Canvas is one of the way you can check all our activities. We have Instagram, we have Twitter. So you shouldn't be left out of what we're doing. Just ask and you will see that we're very active on campus and also in general in the community. So today we will have a conversation table room, a game room, a music room, and Italian program room. Conversation table, game room, music room. You'll find graduate students directing the rooms, managing the room, hosting the rooms. In the Italian program room, you'll meet some faculty. Unfortunately, 2 of our faculty, there are 5 of us full-time, another person is half-time, but 2 of our faculty cannot be here tonight. But when you come into the room, we'll introduce you to their courses. You'll meet Professor Silvia Valisa, Professor Kathy Prento, and myself, and we will answer any question you have on courses and the minors in Italian, major in Italian, even a master's in Italian. If you are interested in a master's in Italian, we can tell you how it works. So now, if my colleagues don't have anything else to add or anything they want to chime in, we could move on to Jessie's recipe, which is gnocchi alla Romana, gnocchi Roman style. So if there are any of my film students or Silvia's film students, and you have seen Divorce Italian style, this is gnocchi Italian style. So you can add all the interpretations you want to this gnocchi. I hope you have the ingredients, and I hope you will follow through and try to make them, because they are delicious. So Pietro, Arianna, Silvia, Chloe, anybody wants to say, add something that I forgot?
You were awesome, Irene.
Thank you.
Niente,
Look at my t-shirt.
Oh,
I have my
Bellissimo.
usual t-shirt for the event.
Yes, I do remember that one. And this time I was trying to say, oh, where is that t-shirt, Irene? Because you didn't show it. Good job. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Yes, let me go ahead, find out Jesse here. I saw his head. And here we go, Chef Jesse.
Hey, Young. Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to the Globe Kitchen. I'm just hanging out today with Laura back here, and we are, I guess I am reading up on my Italian regional cuisine here with my culinary Italy book here. And I was checking out this, I was checking out this recipe. I think we got to do this next year. See this tiramisu?
Jesse,
this looks amazing.
There.
Yeah. So anyways, today we've got gnocchi alla Romana. This is a really delicious dish, pretty simple to make. I know last time we when we hosted with y'all, we did the risotto con funghi, and that might have been a little bit tough for some people to complete that recipe. But this one, I think, you know, is a little bit more accessible. So I hope some folks out there give it a try. This is a classic Italian dish from Rome. It's been around, you know, in one form or another since Roman times even. The base of the dish is a semolina flour. And semolina flour has been a staple in Europe since like 7000 BC. So, I mean, this is, you know, basic food stuff. And it's basically a wheat that's a high protein winter hard wheat that's ground up. And you can see here that it's not ground up like the flour you use to, you know, make bread and cookies. This is kind of like a medium grind, and it's used to make pastas and, you know, different baked goods. When you mix water and everything with it, it does, like, you know, smooth out into a dough, but it's a little bit grittier than, you know, your standard flour. And so that's the basis of this, is the semolina flour. And when you think of gnocchi, you might be thinking of like the little kind of dumplings that are tossed in maybe like a sauce and with some vegetables and stuff. And this is really pretty unique. It's, we're gonna cook this dough with the flour, and then we're going to cut shapes with it and then bake it and have some cheese with it. And so really this is like kind of like the original macaroni and cheese. So if anybody's a fan of macaroni and cheese out there, the flavors in this are pretty similar. And the textures are definitely different, but it's super comforting and really, really delicious. So let's get into it here. I've got 1.5 cups of the semolina flour. And I got that Bob's Red Mill brand. That was from Publix. Most of the stuff, I think all the stuff I got from Publix. I've got a little bit of ground nutmeg, 1 stick of unsalted butter. And so here, this is Parmigiano Reggiano. This is the real deal. This one's aged 18 months from Italy, and it's a hard, pretty salty cheese, really delicious and pretty expensive too. You're gonna need 8 ounces, and 8 ounces of this is gonna run you about 12 bucks. So, you know, maybe if you're doing a date night or a special night, you spring for the good stuff. But I also use the Publix Parmesan, which is definitely not as good, but it is an okay substitute, and it's less than half the cost. So the good Italian stuff is definitely worth it, and it will make a difference. But you can substitute, you know, a less expensive one if you need to. And you're gonna need 8 ounces of cheese. Okay, I've got 2 egg yolks here, so I separated out the whites. I just got about 1/4 cup of milk we're gonna add to the yolks. And then I've got a little bit of salt. Over on the stove here, we're gonna add the semolina to 4 cups of milk. And I've already started warming this up. And so you're gonna wanna gently warm up your milk. And I'm using this 12-inch saute pan, which I actually found works pretty well, but you could also use any kind of thick, like kind of stock pot, or, you know, any like an enamel cast iron pan. You don't want to use just a plain cast iron. But really the skillet worked pretty well. And I've got it on probably about medium low heat. We're not trying to boil it like crazy, but we do want to bring it up just to a boil. So I'm going to turn it up just a tad. All right. All right, so we're just gonna do a dash of nutmeg in here. We definitely don't want this to taste like nutmeg. We just want to give a little background flavor. And then this is where it starts to get interesting. We're gonna put 6 tablespoons of butter in there. So I'm gonna cut 2 off. I'm gonna add the butter. Okay. I did say this dish was delicious. I did not say it was healthy. Right. So you can definitely pair some steamed vegetables with this and all kinds of other things to make it a full meal. But this is like a side dish. If you had a big portion of it, I suppose it could be a dinner. But you could definitely have you know, roasted meat or, you know, vegetables on the side. What kind of things do you all pair with it?
Are you talking to us Italians, Jesse?
Yeah.
That's usually a first dish. So instead of pasta, you'd have gnocchi alla Romana as, you know, a first course,
Okay.
maybe after a nice hors d'oeuvre and before your second dish. So we wouldn't necessarily make it a one course meal. That would just
Mhm.
be the pasta substitute. And
Great. So
we-
if you're, is this even for like informal dining? Do you have courses for your meals? Is that pretty standard?
there are people who eat gnocchi alla Romana on a regular basis. So yes, it is standard. And again, it's a family tradition. So if it's very common in your family to make it, then it's going to be a pretty regular occurrence that you're going to have that for dinner or lunch on Sunday. If it's not really part of your own family traditions, then maybe you're going to have it on special occasions.
Cool. Yeah, and this is a current dish too. This isn't just like an old dish. Like this is enjoyed in Lazio, around Rome. Like this is like a family type of dish, right? Like commonly eaten now.
Yes, and Jesse, it is your fault that I had to trace back the origin of the first version of gnocchi alla Romana all the way back to the 1st century AD.
Oh my gosh.
So if I had to dust off my Latin, you can be blamed for that.
Hey, I'm proud of that. That's awesome.
Yes, for anyone who's interested, as Jesse mentioned, this dish, the first version of it, was already famous during the Roman Empire, and the first written testimony is by Marcus Gavius Apicius in De Re Coquinaria, the culinary art. It was written under Emperor Tiberius, 1st century AD. So, Jesse, you were right.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I was reading some about Apicius earlier and about how he was like a big, way into food, and he wrote some cookbooks, and I think his original like famous cookbook, there's only second editions of it. Like his original book is lost to history.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so our milk is pretty hot here. We got the butter melted, we got the nutmeg in. We're gonna put 1 tablespoon of salt. And all right, so you can see the oil, the butter oil on top there. We can kind of see it bubbling a little bit. And that's our signal that we're gonna start adding the semolina. So if we take our 1.5 cups of semolina and just pour it in right now, it's gonna get all lumpy and it's not gonna work out too well for us. So we've got to take this slow. So you just want to take your semolina and gently add it by just shaking and dusting kind of the top. This is a bit of a long process here, but this is going to get you a nice smooth dough to, when it's all finally done here. So, whoops, a little bit extra falls in, that's all right. And then once it starts thickening up, we can start adding more semolina. You just want to start kind of slow. And we're keeping it on this medium-low heat. You could also use a whisk. I'm using this slotted spoon. You could use a wooden spoon. I can't have wooden spoons in here. The slotted spoon is working for me though, so I'm gonna go with it. Once the semolina is fully mixed in, this becomes a really thick dough, and you're gonna need a spoon to stir it. You're gonna have to transition out of a whisk if you're starting with a whisk. And you can kind of see it starting to bubble on the sides there. That's okay. Might turn it down in a second here. And now you can see it starting to thicken up. The butter oil has integrated into it. And it's starting to bubble a little bit more. So we're going to turn that down. This is a gentle cooking. You don't want the edges to get brown. You don't want the bottom to brown. You want it to be kind of like a smooth porridge to start here. And then it's just going to continue to thicken. Now, if you do get some lumps, don't worry about it. Once it thickens up at this point, those lumps are going to smooth out.
What are some good wine pairing with gnocchi alla Romana?
Arianna, Rihanna. We want to steer clear of red wines for sure. We do not want to select anything that's going to overpower the delicate flavor of the semolina flour. So we definitely want to go into white wines this time. The recommended wine, the absolute best to pair gnocchi with would be a Greco di Tufo because of its sour taste, which would go very well with this soft, sweeter taste of the semolina flour. But you could also go for a very light Vermentino di Sardegna. You could go any southern white wine that you want, or northern Verdicchio wines. All whites, some still, some sparkling, but do not pair any red wines with this one because you are only gonna taste wine and not the dish.
Yeah, this is so rich with the cheese and the butter that I could see, yeah, like a more acidic kind of white wine being a good pairing for sure.
And I mean, if you have a hard time finding Greco di Tufo or Vermentino, you could definitely go into Sauvignon Blanc or a still Chardonnay, or something of the sort that are quite easily found here in the United States, opposed to very specific regional Italian wines. There is an Italian wine section at Trader Joe's, which is quite extensive. But if you wanna, have something cheaper, you can definitely go with an American wine that's local, but still same characteristics. So do some research about the Greco di Tufo and the Vermentino and some of the local wines here, and try to match the characteristics to have sort of the same taste there coming together with the gnocchi.
All right, so you see how this has gotten so stiff here. And so this is a workout for sure. You wanna, if you're cooking with somebody else, you might wanna put a timer on and trade off halfway through. Well, there we go, that's our last bit of semolina. And I've got my heat on, turned off, and that was all right. The pan is still hot, but I'm gonna keep it on a nice low temperature while I'm finishing mixing this in. And then I like doing this in the skillet because you have a lot of surface area. And so you can kind of mix it up really well, turn it pretty easily. You got a lot of area to work with, and then you can press it back out and get the gnocchi dough spread out thin. So all that surface area is on the heat. And so I think I might kind of move it forward and cook it a little bit faster this way. Okay, so I'm gonna let this kind of chill here for a second. You can stay there, Laura, I'll just bring this over. So at this point, I'm going to get my cheese and my eggs ready. We're gonna incorporate the cheese and the eggs. The 8 ounces of cheese, we're gonna shred that, and then 1 cup we're gonna add into the dough, and then 1 cup we're gonna put on top when we bake it. And you can, if you wanna make this a little less rich, you don't have to add the cheese into the dough. Some recipes I found only added cheese on top and then also didn't bake it with the cheese on it. They would just put Parmesan on at the end when it came out of the oven and then served it like that. So there's definitely some slight variations out there to this if you wanted to make it a little less rich. All right, so we're gonna do the cheese first. And just gonna put all this cheese in. All right, flame's still going. It's not hot enough that it's gonna brown anything, but it's just keeping the heat nice and even. And we're going to mix our cheese into the dough. And this takes a little bit of effort. You're just gonna kind of mash and turn and mash and turn.
So just an FYI, we have a student cooking with you, Jessie.
Oh yeah, awesome.
I think April, I will mute her if she wants, but she's definitely cooking with you right now.
Very cool. Yeah, if she has any questions or needs a
Yeah,
pointer,
I asked her to unmute if she wants, but
she's doing all right. Okay.
Hi.
thank
Hey,
you.
April.
We're trying to come along. Let me.
All right.
Okay.
So the cheese is getting melted in here, and I'm still working it. My hand is starting to cramp. Laura, you want to jump in and stir this? No? Okay. All right. Laura's not trying to help me out, everybody. All right, Laura.
So this dish is different from the traditional gnocchi. Could somebody explain really what the difference is between like gnocchi alla Romana and traditional gnocchi that we would see, the like little dumpling side type? Like, is it different ingredients or is it just different preparation?
Yeah. So, well, it's different ingredients. So, Pietro, you can jump in at any time here too. There's the gnocchi that people are most probably familiar with can be made with flour, or they can also be made with potato, or a combination of potato and flour. And it's dough that's, I don't know, Pietro, you probably have a better idea of what's exactly in that dough, but I don't think they put eggs in that dough.
It's
There's differences
flour,
for sure.
It's flour, boiled potatoes, and salt. Some people put eggs in the dough, but the original recipe doesn't call for them because the starch in the potatoes is going to hold the dough together, so it doesn't need a thickening or binding agent as egg yolk to stay together. There are definitely people who need the dough with boiled potatoes, flour, and eggs, but it's unnecessary. You just need 3 ingredients for the dumpling gnocchi, the regular gnocchi that we're all used to. And yes, so this is semolina flour, eggs, butter, milk, so many more. These are going to be cut into circles, whereas the dumplings are going to be rolled out and cut into tiny pieces. So it's 2 very different dishes, except they share a name.
Yeah, potato gnocchi also are boiled in like a water bath.
Yes.
And this is not, yeah.
Exactly. And you have to peel the potatoes after they're boiled. So you have to burn your fingertips to make really good gnocchi dumplings.
Yeah, potato gnocchi are tricky. They're tricky because you got to get I think it's a very particular type of potato. And then the moisture content, like boiling them to the right point, is really important. And I think a lot of people end up adding eggs because they don't know how to quite, do that traditional preparation, because it's somewhat of an art form, I believe.
As a general rule, steer clear of russet potatoes.
Okay.
If you want to make good gnocchi, those are going to come undone, and so not good. Just plain white potatoes or yellow potatoes. Do not go into red potatoes. No russet, and you're good to go. And you should take them out of the water bath as soon as the prongs of a fork come down, but do not break apart the potato. So as soon as you can stick the prongs in, that's when you take it out, peel it, and mash it. Or at least that's how I do it. Maybe chefs do it differently. Jesse?
Well, yeah. I mean, I honestly haven't really messed around with potato and gnocchi too much. So I don't have any tried and true methods to share, honestly. But I've definitely made this before, and I've made, I feel like, there's a Parisian gnocchi out there too. That's like a puff. it's a prosciutto that's all flour and egg. And I'm trying to remember what that was called, but it's different though, and it's like a pan fried gnocchi. So, but that's French though, so that's not Italian one. All right, so the cheese is melted in there.
Mhm.
We've got a nice firm dough here. This is looking really good. And now we've got to incorporate our egg yolks. And so I added some of that milk to the egg yolks and just whipped it up with a fork. And that milk is going to keep it from cooking too fast, because we want to incorporate it in here without it cooking. So I also took the heat off the pan, and we're just going to gently get this mixed in real quick. And that's going to really loosen up this dough, and it should be nice and smooth and pliable and easy to spread out. Okay. So my hand is getting a workout today. I made one of these earlier, so trying to do 2 of these is definitely a challenge.
That's looking awesome, Jesse.
Yeah, you see how smooth that is?
Mhm.
And you want that smoothness. It shouldn't be cracking when you get it mixed at the end here. All right, so I kind of like this slotted spoon because you can kind of press on it and get that yolk mixed in there pretty easy. All right. Okay, so let's move over back to the table.
That looks awesome.
Yeah,
It looks perfect.
yeah, this turned out pretty well. So I've got my 2 tablespoons of butter left over here, and I've got a sheet pan. So I'm just gonna use this to coat my sheet pan real quick. You could also use a little pan spray if you want, but it's not gonna taste as good. And then we will put our gnocchi dough onto the pan. We're just gonna spread it out into a thin sheet. Let's see. And it should all just kind of stick together here, and we can compress it. It's not gonna go all the way across this whole half sheet pan. That'd be a little bit too thin, but we're looking for about a 1/2 inch thick, maybe a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch thick. And we want it to be fairly even. And then from here, you're gonna let it sit for about 1/2 an hour to an hour. And you can cover it lightly with some plastic wrap. And you want it to cool before you cut it. You can even do this with your hands. It has so much butter in it, it really shouldn't stick to anything. Okay. All right. Whoops. Okay. So there we go. I'm gonna let that sit now, and I made one earlier, so we'll pull that out. There we go. All right, so once it cools down, it really firms up enough so that we can cut it. And I'm just gonna use a glass because everybody's got a glass at home. If you have a thin rim glass, that's good. You're looking for 2 to 3 inch in diameter. And then actually, let me do this real quick. Once we cut it, we're gonna transfer it to a baking dish. And you can use all different size baking dish. You can use an oval baking dish. This is just like a 6 by, like 12 little Pyrex, something like that. I'm gonna coat the bottom really good with some more of this butter. And then we're just gonna use the glass to cut these out. And then you just wanna fit it into your dish decoratively. And you can also flip it over so you get the flat side up. And so this one, I figured out these fit in best if I go lengthwise first. And I'm just gonna do a single layer. But kind of the fun of this dish too is the presentation. You can make it look pretty cool if you get it layered in here nicely. I'm gonna just do like a little fish scale kind of layering. So I'll go over here. Okay. Anybody have any other questions out there?
No,
questions?
so far
Okay.
so good. April, are you doing all right? Good. She thumbs up.
Thumbs up. All right. Awesome. This really isn't too hard to make. You just don't try to rush any part of it. Just take it easy. And it really should come out pretty easily for you. Okay. And then the other thing about this is there is a fair amount of scraps. So if you had a bit of a bigger dish, you could, get a couple more pieces out of this. But definitely don't want to throw those scraps away. You can just put those and throw them in another baking dish and, save it for a lunch or something. This is more, for something you're going to present at the table. Definitely is going to look pretty nice. Okay, so here, let's open up our Parmigiano Reggiano. We're gonna shred a little bit of this. Yep.
Jesse, while you're opening the cheese, I got two questions. One is there a vegan choice? Other one is gluten-free choice.
Well,
Hard.
it would just be a totally different dish. You could substitute polenta for the semolina, but I mean that's just going to be a polenta, and that's a popular dish in northern Italy. I think in particular is polenta made in a similar way as this semolina. But in terms of milk alternatives and butter, I mean, you could the cheese part to make it vegan. I mean, that's going to be tough, but I mean, they have the cheese alternatives. And so you could get, margarine for the butter, but it's just going to taste different. But you could do it. And gluten-free, you'd have to do it with corn. So.
Yeah, but actually, I remember, Pietro, you mentioned actually the original recipe doesn't include egg. So eggless is an option, right? Is
The
it?
gnocchi dumpling recipe does not call for eggs. The
Okay.
gnocchi alla Romana, if anyone would want to translate the original recipe from Latin, I'm confident they were not using a few of the ingredients that we're using today. That's actually a fun fact. The original location of the gnocchi alla Romana was disputed as being possibly a Piedmontese dish because butter was not used in Rome as a condiment or an ingredient for many, many centuries. So it is possible that at some point in history, before the 1800s, there was a recipe that did not call for butter in this dish. The modern recipe and every attested copy of it and passed down does call for butter. So I'm gonna have to look into that if anyone's interested, but off the top of my head, I do not know of a recipe that does not call for dairy or eggs.
Okay, so that last 2 tablespoons of butter, I'm just gonna smush up little pieces and add it to the top, and that's gonna melt in. This is gonna go in a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. And basically you want the cheese to melt and, crisp up and get a little bit of brown, and then the outside and the bottom of the gnocchi is gonna crisp up a little bit too, while the center is gonna stay severely soft. So I'm gonna put this in the oven. And then I will pull out the one I made. Let me see. That's probably still hot. All right, so here we go. This is our final dish here. And this one had extra cheese on it for sure. And that Parmigiano Reggiano, honestly, is amazing. Like when I opened that up and started shredding it, the aroma was just like intoxicating. Compared to the American Parmesans, it's just uncomparable.
Could we all take a second to give Jessie a round of applause, because that is next level. Jessie, wow. Wow.
It's beautiful. Yum. Che buono. Bellissimo.
Yeah, this is looking very good. So yeah, I'm just gonna slice the chunk out and go into the plate here. And yeah, you can see the cheese is melted and the gnocchi itself firms up a little bit, and it's gonna get crisp on the edges and the bottom too. And yeah, it's a delicious dish. The original macaroni and cheese is the way I'm thinking of it these days. But I hope you all give it a shot.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah. Thank you.
Bravo,
Yeah.
Jessie.
Yeah, you all are so welcome. I'm happy to do it. Any other questions out there? Is everybody ready to get into those breakout rooms? And
Oh, bravos, Jessie. Good job. Always.
thank you.
Jessie, you're hungry, right? You want to eat?
I am always hungry. Yes.
Okay. Bye,
All right.
Jessie. Thank
Thanks,
you so
y'all.
much.
Have a good weekend.
You too.